All right, excellent. Yes, I do live in Quebec City. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get an NHL team this week or next week. But I guess that we will be able to start a conversation with the folks in Raleigh to move the team, the Hurricanes, a little bit up north. It's a shame we have a box in Raleigh and at the arena and when I was working at Bell, we had like several boxes across the country, mostly in Toronto, Ottawa, and in Montreal. And it was really hard to get a seat. When you work at Red Hat, you can get a seat. You can get the full box. Like no one likes hockey in Raleigh, so it's a shame. When you work at Red Hat, in every Red Hat office around the world, there is a wall dedicated to that quote from Gandhi. And it just happened again, right? It happened with Linux, and it just happened with cloud infrastructure. So despite all the bad press from vendors with legacy to protect, we have been able to succeed and build a real enterprise-grade, open source-based infrastructure as a service platform for our enterprise customers, for enterprise workloads. So my name is Philippe Theriault, as Luc said, and I'm looking after the cloud business in Canada. Welcome to my session. OpenStack is now ready for prime time. OpenStack is now enterprise grade. And it's not just OpenStack, it's everything else we have in the cloud portfolio at Red Hat. It's open source innovation, open source technologies. It comes with different roots that traditional enterprise software, but now it merged and we've reached a point where we can run and customers, you have the logo of some of our customers, large communication service providers like TELUS organizations like Cisco, Telefonica, Verizon, and so on, also very large banks, financial services institutions, but also cloud service providers, public cloud service providers, enterprise service providers, and enterprise managed services providers, and so on. So a big spectrum of enterprises, of small and medium businesses, and service providers with different needs in terms of availability, different needs in terms of agility. And we didn't build that alone. We built that with the power of an ecosystem, with the power of an open source community. So now we've reached a point where, yes, enterprise workloads can run on OpenStack, and not just like basic workloads, so not your FoxPro databases or Microsoft Access. I don't know if it still exists. Yeah, first job actually, I worked with a company. We were developing something called the Electronic Price Book, and it was an enterprise-grade FoxPro database. Really hard to put in the same sentence. I'm talking about communication service providers running very complex network functions with the needs for 99.99999% uptime, running on OpenStack without any interruption, with providing enterprise-grade availability, but also cloud scalability. So enterprise application that can scale up and scale out. And when you think about OpenStacks, basically, most people don't understand what OpenStack is. I've been fortunate enough to have the pleasure to work on that platform for many years, in reality since the second version of OpenStack. But people still believe, a lot of people in Canada still believe that OpenStack has been designed as an open source alternative to an enterprise-grade virtualization platform. It is not. It has been developed and designed as an open source alternative to proprietary public cloud platforms. But with one thing in common, it's a quote I use very often. It's way easier for you to stretch your private cloud out than trying to bring the public cloud in. With OpenStack, it gives you one thing: choice. You have choice of hardware and you have choice of applications. Does it make sense to buy the software that powers your network from the same vendor that manufactures the box with RJ45s and optic fiber connectors? No. Similarly to that, it doesn't make sense if you buy a server from one vendor, you will typically not buy the operating system from that vendor anymore, right? So the same is applicable to your storage environment. The same is applicable to your network. So OpenStack is a software-defined data center. It's not an alternative to VMware. It was designed with different principles in mind. And it's also really, really, really open. It's one of the few open source projects that has the word open in its name, right? Not like MySQL, even Linux doesn't have the word open in its name. So it's really open, and it's the power of a community. When I first started working with OpenStack, it was really designed as an alternative to Amazon Web Services for scale-out cloud applications with no interest or ambition to be an enterprise-grade platform. But look how things change. Over the last few years, we have organizations like IBM, HP, Cisco, and also customers like AT&T, Telefonica, Verizon, I forgot the Santander, the big Spanish banks, who became very active in the OpenStack community, contributing code and carving and shaping the future of the project to reach the point where we are today. But it's also very complex. So who will you call when you're going to need support? Will you call a company that only does OpenStack? Or are you going to call a company that understands the entire stack? How your software are developed? How do you provision the infrastructure? On which operating system it's running? Will you call a company that only has like limited visibility in the portfolio? Or are you going to call a company that has partnerships across the entire industry with a very active ecosystem? So no finger pointing, but actually a real partner that will help you solve your problem and will make sure that you stay focused on your business instead of fixing all the plumbing underneath, right? And this is what we do for a living. So with OpenStack and with a bunch of other open source projects, there's more than 1 million open source projects out there. We basically take the best of open source and we package it. So and it's not different we package it to be easy to consume for our enterprise customers and to be easy to provide services on top of it directly and with our partners. And our cloud portfolio is not different, just that our cloud portfolio comes with another principle in mind, and it's DevOps, right? So our customers, most of our customers who have that we have conversation with regarding our cloud portfolio, not just OpenStack, but also OpenShift, our platform as a service, our storage solutions and our container solutions and so on. They really want to enable DevOps. They really want to transform the way they deliver IT. They want to transform the way they design their application to deliver value faster to their end user, to become the disruptor in the industry instead of being disruptive. But it's also leveraging the legacy, right? So the new disruptors in the industry, they don't have the legacy. They don't have like old systems of record, right? And it is an asset for most of us here in the room. Like you have traditional systems. So for us, DevOps is not just like doing the latest and the greatest, but it's also connecting the latest and the greatest with your legacy. So it's bimodal IT and DevOps at the same times. And our customers have to adapt. And they also have another thing in common. They are under pressure. Pressure coming from lines of business to release application faster. If you don't do it, someone else will do it, your competitor will do it, right? From developers, they are hard to attract, they are hard to retain, and it started in California a couple of years ago, now it's on the US West Coast and Southern United States, it's gonna happen here in Toronto as well. We have reached the bottom of the pool in terms of skilled resources. So investing in the resources we have is very, very critical, and making sure that you keep your developers happy by giving them enough challenges, by making sure that they can stay focused on their work. Developers, they want to fix problem, right? That by making sure that they give back their productivity to the organization instead of taking care and fixing all the plumbing and working on systems that have been deployed 2 decades ago. This is how you keep them happy, right? And this is how you make sure that they help solve the pressure problem. And helping operations keeping the head above the surface of the water. We are throwing more stuff on their side, right? And increased automation, increased orchestration is probably the only way we can solve that problem. And the traditional way of delivering IT doesn't necessarily evolve over time. We still have projects delivered with the traditional approach that are going over budget, over time, not delivering the value that the company expected. While customers who have, and our customers are looking for answers. Most of our customers here in Canada have already crossed the bridge and deployed in infrastructure as a service or are actually considering deploying in infrastructure as a service. So we'll be more than happy to sit down with you to talk about that. And then the next logical step, and I would say for me, that's the vast majority of the conversations I'm having on a weekly basis, it's to talk about platform as a service. So that's the next logical step. How do you automate the way you deliver IT, the way you create your application, that it happens in a factory chain fashion instead of doing craft work in a workshop, right? And then this is really how you can actually cross the bridge and be in a real DevOps-enabled organization. And you have to do it to a certain degree because this is how you can be prepared for the next wave. And the next wave is containers. If you think that managing VM sprawl was a nightmare and was something, watch out for containers. It's got to be probably 10 times harder to manage than VM sprawl. So it's the next logical step. And of course, we're working with our customers to make sure that it's their infrastructure and the foundation is future-proof. And it delivers results. I'll be more than happy to share with you some great success we're having in Canada with customers from financial services to telco to manufacturing to retail, distribution, and so on, and including public sector, who've crossed that bridge, delivering better application faster with better visibility. But there are some pitfalls to avoid, and I see you smiling, Dan. Beware of the forks. Some vendors will pretend that they will pretend offering you an open source solution. Really easy to take open source, package it in such way, and put a proprietary wrapper around it. You should always be suspicious if a company packages a software and if that company doesn't have open source in its roots. There are many platforms out there where even if the core is open source, you're going to be locked in that platform. And you don't want that, right? You want flexibility. If you don't like our software, you're free to go. Is it applicable to any other vendors out there? I would be suspicious, right? So beware of that. Forks are very dangerous. The do-it-yourself approach sometimes doesn't necessarily deliver also the expected outcomes. In fact, we have several studies that will demonstrate that unless you have like a gigantic scale, you will not get the desired outcome in the return on investment if you go yourself and download the community bits and do your own certification and do your own support and so on. So that's why we exist, to be kind of the man in the middle to make sure that you get all the latest innovations coming from the open source community, but with support, right? On the other end of the spectrum, your employees. It's a threat and an opportunity. If you transition the way you deliver IT to be a real DevOps organizations, make sure that you have a real solid assembly line. Infrastructure and applications should be built in assembly line with increased automation and orchestration so that you cannot manually act something that failed in the QA or other stages, right? Otherwise, you're going to break the assembly line. That's why it takes so long for car manufacturers to fix something that is broken, because they have to fix the assembly line. But once it's done, they can actually release, and they can actually get a car out of the factory every minute, every hour. So make sure that you don't hack your own assembly line, otherwise it's dangerous. And software developers, they want to fix problem, right? They want to see their code in production. So you must have the right platform. But your employees are also an amazing opportunity. Open source for platform as a service and infrastructure as a service is less expensive, a smaller investment upfront and a longer run than proprietary solutions. However, please don't put the savings in your pocket. You should invest in your people. They are the ones who will help you develop better applications faster, that will help you being the disruptor in your industry instead of being disruptive. It's not transforming a team that has been operating in an environment for years from traditional IT, waterfall to DevOps, right? It's adding another team and slowly doing that transition, right? DevOps people and Mode 2 people developing Mode 2 applications, scale-out cloud applications, they have to learn a lot, especially wanting operational efficiency and excellence from the Mode 1 people, and vice versa. Mode 1 people, they should actually learn a lot of the increased agility and automation and orchestration from the Mode 2 people. So it's an investment in your people. And in reality, as Corey mentioned before, the bulk of our time, technology, it's easy to fix. The bulk of our time with our customers is working on the people and the process side of the equation. The technology, we know it pretty well. It's working with you to make sure that every dollar you invest in software and in infrastructure, it actually gives you the desired outcome. And another belief that we have, and it's my personal and firm belief, is that we don't have the monopoly of good solutions. There's much better value for us to help you maximize and leverage your existing investments and the investment in technologies you already have, and making sure that you have a platform that leverages that, and also leverages the best of public cloud and the best of private cloud, the best of physical, and the best of every world, right? Every world. So that's our concept of open hybrid cloud. It's not putting everything on Red Hat. It's making sure that you have an holistic view of what's going on. You have a platform that is fully automated and fully orchestrated, but also that you leverage the investment in terms of knowledge and investment in terms of technologies that you already made. And for us, from an infrastructure, so my colleague Jean-François will cover the platform, so from the application down, I will cover from the infrastructure up. For us, it's a transformation. It's a journey, migrating from traditional virtualization to glorified / advanced virtualization to basically infrastructure as a service, and then a real open private cloud. So wherever you are in that journey, we'll be more than happy to sit down with you and see what are the next steps and what is the value we can bring. And typically most of us, we already have invested in virtualization platform, right? So the next logical step would be just to add a little bit more of automation with configuration management tools. Instead of configuring everything manually, you can actually configure everything with scripts. And that would be a first step of automation, and definitely an easy entry point. And the next logical step is a cloud management platform. A CMP, I didn't invent that term, it comes from Google. So a CMP is one level up. It gives you a more holistic view of what's going on in your environment. You're going to get basic capabilities like discovery and reporting and analysis, but also very powerful workflow tools to actually create workflows and make sure that you increase your degree of automation and orchestration. And it's going to be useful because a lot of our customers are now offering choices of virtualization platform. And yes, it sounds like increased complexity, but it is not necessarily, because I'm sure that most of you, to a certain degree, already consume resources from public cloud. So do you manage the complexity of the hypervisor? No, right? It's managed by a CMP. So by having a CMP in place, you will have an abstraction layer that will actually hide a little bit of the complexity of your virtualization environment, and you're going to be able to offer choices of virtualization platform. The main driver behind that is economies, saving, but also another driver is that most of our customers, they realize that 90% or 80% of their VMs are standalone VMs that do not consume any of the enterprise features that comes with the package that they paid for. And also, not my words, some of our customers are saying that their existing virtualization technology vendors kind of became the oracle of virtualization. So, and they don't like that. They are seeking for an alternative, or at least offering choices. When you go on public cloud technologies, you have choice. You could actually offer choice, and the savings will actually pay for a lot of the future phases. And once you're done with that, you have a very good host, a very good platform for your traditional application, making sure that you have the right workloads on the right platform, and then you can do some OpenStack. You can look at OpenStack, a real software-defined data center that will probably be the foundation for your next evolution. You're not forced to go to OpenStack. You can actually skip that step. But a lot of our customers are really interested looking at it, what are the values, and what are the benefits a software-defined data center can bring to their organization. The slide shows that OpenStack is good for the cloud-enabled application. It's not true anymore now. OpenStack is also good for enterprise workloads. So it's your choice of placement, traditional applications on one side, or traditional and cloud-enabled applications on the other side, and then you can move workloads from one platform to another platform. It's not magic. There's no easy button, but it gives you a lot of advantages. And then once you're done with that, you pretty much set the boundaries of your private cloud, and then you can start leveraging resources from public cloud, right? It's not a preset order. You can actually mix and match the steps. And that is another firm belief I have. It's way easier for you to actually stretch your private cloud outside and making sure that you consume the best resources coming from the several public cloud vendors, instead of developing your application with proprietary APIs of a specific public cloud, and then you're going to be locked in that platform. What we call in the industry the Netflix syndrome, because they're overly developed on Amazon and they're stuck on it. So who do you believe has the thick end of the bat on their monthly negotiation? They cannot walk away. And that's it. So that's, in a nutshell, for us, that's our basically open hybrid cloud concept. And if we actually put names on it, traditional virtualization could be any vendor. I just pick one. And then you have OpenStack, Satellite, Ansible now in terms of configuration management, and CloudForms on top of it. From a portfolio point of view, this is how we entertain the conversation. So it's Red Hat Cloud Suite for application. It's basically CloudForms on top of it. CloudForms is the glue between dev and ops. This is where software developers will go and see where their workloads are. And this is where actually, so what's inside of their containers, if you already start developing applications inside of containers, this is where ops people will go and actually will see what's inside of the containers, and if it represents a risk, transitioning a Docker container to your own personal registry and so on. And then you have choice of deploying your applications, deploying your services on either a traditional virtualization platform, on public cloud, on OpenStack, or container technology. And it's really kind of the best of both worlds, where you can have traditional mode 1 application, stateful application next to scale-out cloud applications. And how to start that conversation, how to start that journey, it's definitely having a conversation with us. The cloud team will be more than happy to sit down with you. We do discovery session, milestone kickoff, if you don't like the term workshops. So we sit down with you, we'll look at what you have, what are the investments that you have, what are the assets that you have, and what could be a good strategy to maximize, to get the best out of what you currently have, and also giving you an additional flexibility, additional agility to really start that DevOps transformation journey. And if you already crossed that bridge, you're already DevOps. So we're looking at how we can improve your platform. From a do-it-yourself platform to a platform that is more industrialized, a platform where actually you can focus on your core business instead of focusing on the plumbing underneath. So in a nutshell, this is what we'll do, and we'll be more than happy to sit down with you and have that conversation. Thank you.